Okay, 7 o'clock, this is Community Preservation Committee, November 7th, 2022. We have to do roll call to make sure everybody's here. So why don't we start with you, Corey?
Corey Evans here.
Tom?
Tom Reardon here.
Michael?
Michael Dickey here.
Mary Ann?
Marion Weatherall present.
Eric?
Eric Eisenhower present.
And Chris?
Chris Plex here.
Jenny?
Jenny here.
And Russ Benetti here. On the agenda, I'd said initially there were going to be some comments from the chairman, but the chairman's going to keep his mouth shut for now. We'll go to the first article, which is the playground. Is there anybody here from the playground?
Looks like we got a couple in there.
Yes, I'll let them all in.
Okay, Michelle, you're going to do the playground?
I am. And we have Sarah, Ronnie, here.
We see Sarah.
Yeah.
We see,
Ronnie's
we
coming
see
in.
something. Okay, there's Ronnie.
And Carol,
Carol
you here for the
St. Pierre.
playground?
Carol's not here. Well, Sarah, do you want to start it? There's Ronnie.
Sure. Hi, thank you for having us back. We've been fairly busy since our last meeting. I met with another playground designer from Premier Park and Play in Newton, and he put together another proposed design and came in right, I think, within the same range as the one that Michelle had gotten. So again, he made sure he said they always follow the mass ADA requirements, and he had incorporated not only the compliant design, but also some inclusive structures like a swing and then some lower accessible instrumental things and some activities that are accessible to all kids. And again, none of that is set in stone. He gave me some catalogs to look at as well, to kind of leave it open for us to choose some things that might be accessible. And we also started a Beechwood parents group petition to drum up community support, not just within the neighborhood, but in the larger community for the project. And in 24 hours, we got over 300 signatures. We're currently at 329 signatures for that. We also have discussed hopefully trying to get the neighborhood together to privately raise. We're hoping to commit to $25,000 to put towards the project, just to, show the community support and our willingness to, participate and be part of the project.
Did they give you any kind of cost breakdowns, assigning dollar amounts to the different things that are going to be going on?
He did. The one that and I know Michelle had, a different bid than I did. The one that he had sent me, just the rubberized surface, was around $80,000. He said it is, it's pretty maintenance free. He said the stuff they use comes with a touch-up kit, whereas since under the swings, like that kind of has some wear and tear over time. So he said they can provide a touch-up kit. So he said usually like within 7 years, some of that, the places that get really the heavy traction start to need a little bit of fixing. But overall, he said the surface alone was kind of the big ticket item, which was $80,000. The age 5 to 12 structure, depending on what we were to go with, had a range of, I think, between $58,000 and $84,000. And then this younger structure, which was like age 2 to 5, I forget exactly what the range was, but it was somewhere I think around the $50,000 mark. And then he also put in a cantilevered sunshade to address the issue that we had talked about, just with the sun and the heat of the summer and how that kind of limited the ability for people to use it. So he had put that in with various sizes, and that came in, I think for two of them I think it was around 18,000 for two. And we thought we could maybe do some picnic tables under that area so that kids could stop and have a water break. It would give parents a place to kind of relax in the shade during those hotter summer months. And then there was the replacement of the swings, which included a swing for a child in a wheelchair that they could use.
The reason I ask is we need to get some sort of breakdown.
And I have all that in my email. And I had
Okay.
sent that to, I think Michelle has it as well, so.
Has
that-
anybody, I haven't seen it. I
Okay,
don't know if anyone else from the committee has. But
Haven't
we
seen
need to have an idea of what's being done and what those different components are going to cost out at.
okay,
There may be items in there that we're not able to fund, and that's why we need to have that.
okay.
Do you know how long it might take to get that? I know, I mean, if you do great. If you don't, that's okay too.
I have it in my email, so I can just forward it to you.
Okay, okay.
Let's see what Michelle has to say.
Hmm?
See what Michelle's got any better data.
Yeah, Michelle, do you have anything?
So I can screen share the breakdown that Sarah had sent, if that's helpful.
When were these received?
I think late last week. Let me look.
Last week. And we're seeing them now for the first time. Where have they been?
It was late Friday afternoon, Russ, and I was not at work late Friday afternoon, and I wasn't in today, so unfortunately I couldn't send them off. But I'm happy to share them now if you'd like to see them.
Yeah, but honestly, I think before we approve anything, we should have some hard copies. So we can see where the different things are going. It asks for that on the application. And particularly where we're being asked to finance 100% of the project. We financed 100% of the 670,000 that property initially cost to develop. At our last meeting, we had said something about having some money shared. And I thought that had gotten through, but when I got this application for 100% financing, I honestly was not too pleased. But to not have any kind of a breakdown of it. I'm willing to call another meeting if we need to. Personally, I don't really look forward to entertaining a vote tonight. But any of the committee members have comments to make? Corey?
I mean, I'd love to see what Michelle has. I think we're searching for some barriers, some boundaries to how we're discuss it. So I think if we can get some more information today, I don't know where we get with it, but it'll give us the ability to kind of start putting together some pieces. That makes sense.
Okay. But it's not our job to put it together.
No, I was saying from our committee, we're going to decide, one of our decisions is how much, if any, funding we want to put it towards it, right? That's going to be a discussion of or not policy, legitimate discussion of this board.
Mhm.
I think we need to have some more information before we can really mention into that.
Okay.
Russ,
Yes,
just building off what you were saying, I think it's also important that there be a fundraising plan that not only we hope to raise $25,000, but some sense of how you're going to come at that, because I think the community participation is an important piece of this for a whole lot of reasons. Financially, yes, but also for the buy-in. And, the general feeling, I think, among a lot of us is that CPC should not be doing 100% of a project unless it's extraordinarily unusual. So I think along with the breakdown, it'd be nice to have a fundraising plan.
okay. Anything else, Tom?
Nope.
Oh, Eric. No, gotta unmute yourself, buddy. You're being Marcel, Eric. There we go.
How am I doing? Yeah, okay. I
Now,
think Tom's exactly right. I think we need to have a fundraising plan, and I think we have 325 people who'd be more than willing to participate in that fundraising effort, all right? Which are the people that signed the petition for the plan, all right? And I think, I don't see this as an urgent project, Russ, and that I think we can take a bit of time, a few weeks here, to get the fundraising plan in place so we know where we're going on that.
okay. All right, Mary Ann? Any comments?
I think as we ask every organization that presents before us, we need to see a plan, we need to see a breakdown. There's a lot of parts to this plan, from the rubber floor surface to the different structures for 2 and 5 year olds to 5 and 8. So there's a lot of equipment we're just talking about. So what's fair is fair. So we do need to see a breakout for everything.
Michael?
I'm just going to reiterate what folks have already said. You know, I think we want to see something formal. It'll require the proposers to, you know, kind of little discipline to think about what they really need and you know, how much for how much. So I'm in favor of, you know, taking a little more time. Playground is not going to be needed, you know, tomorrow. Although with this weather we've been having, who knows, right? I mean, it'd be great to come play in the playground today.
And the snow is coming.
Well, hopefully not soon. Chris, any comments?
Just to echo what's already been said, Russ.
Okay.
That's all.
Now, do any of these proposed repairs, improvements have anything to do with basketball courts?
No, this is primarily for the playground and the playground only. Basketball course is completely separate.
Okay, because we funded 58,000 to the basketball courts last year. I'm just wondering if that's part of it.
No.
And there's no money from recreation.
Tim Bernika's on. I don't know if he has any updates.
So Michelle, this is the first we heard about this project was when you pitched us the field study report. So we haven't had a chance to meet. We're meeting on Wednesday night and it's on our agenda. So we haven't had a chance to talk this through as a committee yet. But that is one of the items that we're going to talk about on Wednesday night.
When did you get the project pitched to you, Tim?
So it was mentioned, I want to say it was 3 weeks ago at our October Recreation Commission meeting. The main topic of the meeting was to discuss the field study that had been done by the outside consultants. And in the sort of general discussion around other projects, it was mentioned that there had been some, I guess, some outreach by the community about the about Beechwood Playground and whether or not a repair or a replacement would be possible. And it was at the time, it was very, you know, I don't think at the time any sort of bids or any kind of parameters had been put on it. I think it was kind of just preliminary talks at that time. But and like I say, as a board, we haven't had a chance to actually talk about this. So this is the reason why I'm here listening to this is to kind of get some background for our discussion on Wednesday night.
Okay, all right. Corey.
One question, I mean, Michelle or Tim or you, Russ, one thing when I was looking around the budget of in Cohasset and we actually just had our report on some of our investment funds or whatever. I ran across the Beechwood Improvement Fund, which apparently has about $13,000 in it. Does anyone know the background for that fund or what that was made for or was useful? I mean, I think this was created more than a decade ago. Michelle, do you have any idea?
So
Ronnie does.
Oh.
Ronnie's waving.
Sure.
So I think, Corey, there was a fire station or something in Beechwood that was sold. And the fund was set up with maybe $5,000, probably 30 or 40 years ago. And the very first time, I would say 30 years ago, we did the playground over. We used monies from that fund. So it must have built itself back up over the last 30 years.
Oh, so it's even more than I thought, okay. Do you know of any restrictions on it, or if there's a mechanism for how it's supposed to be expended, or?
I think the restriction is that it has to be used for the children of Beechwood in some recreational way.
That, it'd be great if we could throw that towards it too. Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be some funds, 100% when we're already in on 100%. Honestly, it kind of surprised me. I thought we were fairly clear at our last meeting that we needed to see some cash up, and to not have it, personally, honestly, I thought it's taking advantage of the CPA. The CPA, the Community Preservation Act, was written to avoid this kind of situation. It was written so that towns, our money is considered separate from the town money. This is not town capital. The only people who can spend CPA funds is town meeting. We make recommendations, all the other boards weigh in, none of which means anything if you don't get it past town meeting. And the reason the act was written the way it was most town managers, and we're sitting on multiple millions of dollars here, are real happy to see get their hands on that money. It's not supposed to be a override preventative, and it's not supposed to be subsidizing anyone's budget. As a couple people pointed out, the sailing club, for instance, came up with, I think, close to $300,000. Now, they're a private group, so you could kind of look at them differently. An argument could be made. But the playgrounds on Deer Hill that we financed a good chunk of a couple of years ago, they raised, I think, over $100,000 through basketball games and things like that to try to raise some cash. And I think that's what we need to see. So whether there's a set percentage or not, we don't have anything cast in stone right now, but we can't keep financing to subsidize other people's budget. It is not what the act was written for that purpose. Jenny, I forgot, since I can't see your face, I didn't ask whether you had any comments.
No, I think I concur with what's been said. A little more detail.
Okay. Corey.
Could we discuss, I think it'd be helpful to maybe set a target for fundraising or the town contribution as well.
Mhm.
Is there a point where this committee's comfortable say, okay, some stuff is 50-50 or 70-30, is there some, I was just doing some calculator math here.
Mhm.
If the town, if the neighbors and rec and the town, we can scoop together, what's an X amount of money that would really make this committee comfortable to say, okay, we'll take it the rest of the way. Do you have that in mind? Do we have a sense of that?
I would prefer to see what they can offer.
Okay.
Honestly, but I'm adamant. I honestly, I think the project is good. Those fields and all get a lot of use, but we got to draw the line somewhere.
Russ, it's
yeah.
Jenny. Could
Oh,
I?
Jenny.
Yeah, I think for organizations that come back year after year or on a regular basis, trying to set up a formula for matching is a little counterproductive because each project could be matched in a different way. So I think that's a kind of a non-starter.
Something worth discussing. I know for a long time we were doing 100%. The Historical Society was one of the bigger beneficiaries of that. That hasn't happened in a while. I understand the use of it. I understand that there's a great deal of support for it. which, as I'm not sure whether it was Tom or Eric pointed out, with that number of people, it shouldn't be hard to raise a few bucks. I don't think we can say there's a set amount. There may be projects that we will do the 100%, but it's time we start reeling it in and look for participation. Tom?
One of the things that I think a plan would give you, you've got 325 people who have signed a petition, so there's a question of the community fundraising, and that's a piece of it. Corey pointed out that there's a fund that exists that ought to be examined, whether that can be a piece of it. Are there foundations? Are there other sources? So that a plan would come in and say, here's what we think we can do, and here's where it's come from, here's where we expect it would come from. And it's not immutable, and not all fundraising plans work, but at least there'd be thought that's a little bit creative. And I would think, you know, this is a very arbitrary thing, but I think you would hope that it would be in the 20+% of what we're talking about. So, you know, I know Russ is resistant to a percentage, and I think that's probably wise, but on the other hand, a kind of order of magnitude, it would seem to me it ought to be significant, but not earth-shattering.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, if it's a small project, it's gonna be hard to raise a lot of money, but there has to be some skin in the game. The library that we're getting ready to hear is, they're looking at about 380, say $400,000 worth of work. They're looking for 125, and that's town-owned property.
It does seem like they're
Yeah.
on their way. They have social services putting in 25,000, Cohasset Music Circus, 25,000.
Well,
And then once we hear the breakdown and they have put together a plan, we can work against those numbers. So that's why I look forward to seeing. I think this is a very good project. It just has to be a bit more organized and presented so we can study it in advance. And that's all I ask.
Yeah, I can tell you for one, I'm putting together a package for the Plymouth Community Preservation Committee, and you would not believe the amount of paperwork and the number of committees you have to go through down there to get a hearing at the CPC. And this is a town that's getting $4 or $5 million a year. But you know, I think we're fairly loose with what we're looking for. But Eric?
Yeah, it's a question I had last time, but I'm still not satisfied we've answered it. And that's the question of the playground by the library has the mulch that we condemn, we feel is not sufficient for Beechwood. And Beechwood, we have to replace it, doesn't do the job. And we have the big playground here at the library. And it's all mulch, it's the same stuff, but we don't seem to be too concerned about that. Now, I don't know how we handle this. If I look at the CPA, the funding request, it's the town of Cohasset that's asking for the money for the project, not Beechwood, all right? And we provide Cohasset funding. So why are we not at least addressing the issue of replacing the mulch at the other much larger playground, which is at the library?
So, oh, sorry.
No, Michelle, go ahead if you're on, please.
Yep. So Eric, that's a great question. And when we had the playgrounds inspected, the mulch is sufficient for now, but what we learned is in 2 years, the ADA accessible requirements for all playgrounds within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts may have to go to a rubberized surface. So until that determination comes down, we are going to limp along with the wood chips as we can, because those playgrounds are not at the end of their life, and to have to rubberize the entire surface now would be detrimental to the entire playground. But if we're considering renovating the park at Beechwood, it'd be best to start with the rubberized surface before installation.
I would have a question then, Michelle.
Sure.
If this is something that's going to be down the road 2 years and rec has no money now, is this going to be recurring? Every time rec needs something, you come knocking on the CPC door? If you
So,
can't raise the money now, how are you gonna raise it then? We shouldn't be, this is one of the things that I'm saying, it seems that the town is looking at our funds in CPA money as a source to tap when they need it. And that is not why the law was written the way it was. It just, you know, I look and I just keep thinking, oh, we're gonna have something else coming down the road. Every time that rec has come in, there's been little or no contribution financially. And all I can see coming down the road is one project after the other, after the other. Are they anticipating increases in other areas and starting to put money aside?
so Russ, I can't speak to recreation, how their formula for budgeting, but knowing this is 2 years in the future, I think we have plenty of time now to start planning for our additional playgrounds. And I can't promise that the town's not going to come back to CPC and ask for additional funding to help offset some of the cost.
I have no
But
problem with the town coming back for additional funding to offset the cost. I have a serious problem with the town coming back time after time after time, looking for 100% of the cost. That's what I have a problem with.
so
And I'm glad that people are confident that recreation is going to come up with money. I've been on this board 12 years. This has been a constant through those 12. And how that's going to turn around in 2 years, it's a miracle of loaves and fishes in my idea, in my estimation. Corey.
So just to kind of, I think, Tom, I want to second what Tom said. I do agree that a significant but a manageable amount of money is what I think about with Beechwood. I kind of went through all the different parks and all the different playgrounds, different locations in town. And you look at like Deer Hill, right? It's got schools, it has, you know, you've got the PSO, you've got the rec has programs. Beechwood is a little bit of a, the Beechwood residents understand, right? It's a little bit, it's different. It's not necessarily part of the normal bubble. So I do think that it warrants stretching a little bit further, because it's a matter of degree. And I think, Tom, that made a lot of sense to me, the 20 to 25% range. If the town can, if we can get 50, 55, $60,000 towards this, that's a pretty significant amount. And I think that'd be a great point for us to say, if you get that, we can go the rest of the way. I mean, that's kind of, I think, what I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah, I would agree, because I mean, you know, let's not fool ourselves. We all know where the money comes from. Hell, it comes from the individual taxpayers. And for that reason, on town projects, I'm willing to be a little more lenient, but I cannot, in good conscience, sit here year after year after year after year and hear this.
So you think
From rec. This application is from recreation, and they're not even here. They have a seat on the CPC, which they have not chosen to fill for a long time. And it's just, you know.
So for us as a committee, we can reply, right? We can send our own message back to say, you know, we're willing to go to here. I mean, that, I think that'd be appropriate step for us to take, is say, you know, come back when this, you know, when you've met the line that we're looking for, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh, yeah, and I'm not, you know, looking to set any amount right now, but the number of times that this has come up, and we still find ourselves in the same position of being asked for 100%. People either aren't listening or they don't believe it, and we need to let them know that we're serious. That's my feeling on it. Anyone else? Corey, any more?
No, this is my first time on the committee. At what point does this committee like motions for like a message like this? Would it be appropriate to make a motion to say the CPC is willing to fund 80% of this project and then have that be a message back, or is this still too early, you think?
You can put that out as a motion if you want. If someone will second it, I'll entertain a vote on it. But with the lack of details we have, how are we going to figure a percentage? how are we gonna figure what does qualify and what doesn't qualify? But,
That gets into.
you know, anybody, if anyone wants to make a motion and somebody wants to second it, we can vote on it.
I'd like to believe that we're sending a message to those people who are interested in this project about what the committee feels is necessary for successful advancement of this. So I don't know that a motion is necessary. I hope that between the various parties who are here, this will get back. And then a comprehensive resubmission of the application that includes a breakdown of the costs and a breakdown of the fundraising strategies, I think will be very helpful. I think there's a lot of support for this project within this board, as I just sense and listen. But I think it needs to get wrapped up in a nice bow on it.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Ronnie?
I just wanted to reiterate that definitely appreciate all the comments and all of the feedback we've gotten from the committee. This is sort of our first rodeo with the CPC, and this is the first time I'm hearing that the recreation department is the one who's actually filing the application. So we're feeling a little bit kind of caught in the middle here. We understand the parties we have to work with. We'll contact the Recreation Commission, and if they're meeting on Wednesday, try to square things away with them. But I appreciate and understand where you're all coming from, and we will do the best we can here to try to move the project forward and navigate through the various groups that it seems like we have to work with.
And as long as you can give me not 48, but close to 48 hours as you can, I'll post a meeting immediately. So it just, you know how I feel about it. Michael.
I am listening to the conversation, and I just think, you know, I'm certainly not going to try and make a motion or anything of that nature.
Okay, Mary Ann. Anything to add, Mary Ann?
I'm supportive of the project. I've already calculated that 282,000 is coming from other sources. So I just wanted to understand how much you'll be getting from the greater community with your 300 people so far that have done the petition. And once I know your fundraising plan, I think I can work better with this. I'm very supportive of the project, guide. These things are not fast, and we just need to work through them with you.
Yeah, Chris. Any comments?
Russ, just picking up on Ronnie's comment of that most people, I assume, I'm new to the committee, when they're going through this, haven't done it before. So could we provide some indication to the applicants of timeline and our expectations of when we hope we would have a comprehensive plan and when we hope we might be able to put this to a vote? I'm also keeping in mind that I understand town meeting is a component of actually approving the funds.
As I just said to Ronnie, I will call a meeting 48 hours, within 48 hours of us getting all this paperwork. As far as the timeline, the sooner the better. The sooner we can make a final improvement or approval, or not approval, because we don't do that. The sooner we can make a recommendation to town meeting, where I think you'd have support, the better. And it's, you know, I don't set, like, we're going to have meetings every 2 weeks. We'll have a meeting whenever I can get a quorum, provided I get enough time to post it legally. You know, I mean, when's town meeting? Oh, December?
December 12th.
12.
I got 2 in there.
Yeah, and we got a whole full month left. And you know, the breakdown, I'm not looking for contractors' estimates, even though the application requests it. A good idea, you know, of what it's going to run, because we have to justify it. And I'm sure somebody at DPW or somebody in engineering can give you standard tables that give an idea of what different phases of the project may entail. You know, we'll put it back up and move it through. But it's just not ready at this point, in my estimation. Anybody who wants to go ahead with it. I would encourage you to. I'm just saying how I feel about it. So, where'd Ginny go? Ginny,
I'm here.
okay, anything to add?
No, I think not. Thank you.
Okay. So shall we continue this to a date to be determined?
Yeah, we got a hearing, so it
Okay.
is, you know.
Do we need a motion to do that?
No.
No.
No? Okay. All right, well, we'll save the motion then. But yeah, it's a worthwhile project. It's just that well, I'm sounding like a broken record, so I'm gonna stop. Okay. All right. Ronnie, Sarah, anything you'd like to say before we move on to the next one?
Sorry, thank you for your time. I just got the estimate from him on late Friday afternoon, so I will make sure that I get that to you so you can take a look at it. I will work on getting some numbers for the private fundraising, so we can come back with a little bit more of a comprehensive plan for you.
Okay, yeah, if you could send that out to me tonight, I'll distribute to everybody. You don't have to wait until you have all the pieces. You
Okay.
can, as you get stuff, send it in, I'll distribute it. Which just makes everything quicker when we're ready to vote for it, because then we'll have everything reviewed, hopefully.
Okay, sure.
Ronnie? Are you also, Michelle?
I was just going to add that I will take everything that Sarah sent Friday afternoon, along with everything that I have, and give you two solid estimates side by side as a breakdown of to the equipment installation and the rubberized surface. And we'll also work with Recreation to see if there's any funding available there before we come back to the committee.
Yeah, okay, appreciate it. All right. Next up is the Paul Pratt Memorial Library. And well, there you are, Megan. Go ahead.
Oh, just thank you for having me back. We went and did a little bit of research after our last meeting with the concerns about zoning. And we've come back happily after some good research and work with our planning department and the building department that we are indeed zoned for recreation, which is exciting. So we're back to chat again, and I'm happy to put up our presentation or just answer any questions or however I can be helpful.
Okay. I just had a chance to review all this stuff today. As I work during the day at a job that pays me, so I gotta kind of give him some time. Do you have any estimates of the work that's going to be done in breakdowns?
Yes, I can pull those up.
Oh, great.
Do you want to get the whole dog and pony show, the new presentation with all the numbers, or shortcut? Okay. I don't know.
Well,
But if you're all teed up.
I mean, honestly, go ahead.
Megan, I have it here. Do you want me to walk through some of it?
That would be great. Yes, thanks.
Okay. This is just what the landscape architect outlined for us to give us some numbers to work with.
Yeah.
He has an allowance for mobilization and earthwork of $20,000. The wall that would outline the patio would be almost $100,000. The concrete for the patio and the stage area would be $54,000. I guess the pergola is almost $30,000. The stairs, $23,500. Handrail, $7,200. Seat walls for the amphitheater, $36,000.
What were those?
The sitting walls in the amphitheater. Finished grading, $8,500. And then we need a planting allowance, and we're gonna put a shed to put chairs in, buy chairs and patio furniture and cushions, and we don't have numbers for those, but what's not in those numbers is what then gets us up to we're estimating 375.
Okay. Okay, I mean, there's some wiggle room in that you're not looking for the 100%. You know, some of the stuff that you're gonna be doing, I'm sure we're not gonna be able to finance. But, which, you know, I mean, it's a shell game, let's be honest. You know, you just move the money from one side to the
Well,
other.
The
Yeah.
biggest parts are the seating areas and the stage and patio and stuff like that, which are clearly recreation, so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the zoning thing was, I was glad, very, again, Michelle, or Megan, thank you for getting that. You know, it's.
Megan, do you have this so you can share it just so the rest of the committee can see what we have here at the table?
Yes. Just be a moment.
That's what I'm writing down.
It was, I don't know that we have an electronic version of it. I think it was just handed out in a meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm happy to type it up and send it to you guys. if you
Yeah,
want.
good, that'd be great.
Okay.
And did you
I'll
get
send it
any,
to you.
these are based on actual estimates or?
No, this is the
standard?
landscape work. Yeah, he just
Okay.
used, per foot
Okay,
estimate.
all right, I mean, you know, that's probably better. Those guys have
Yeah,
a good
I mean-
idea of what's going on with it. Okay. Because like, I'm not sure on plantings, whether we can do that. I'd have to double check on that. I don't think we can. A lot of it we can justify. You know, handrails, you would think at first, you know, you make the argument that that's ADA.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know, so we should be okay on that. Now, how does the committee want to handle this? We can have Megan give her presentation. I'd like to have all these in hand, where we're gonna have to meet again to do the Beechwood Park. We can get all the discussion out of the way tonight. Next time we meet, and that can be next week if it's amenable to everybody, give it a final vote. What's the feel on it? Corey?
If there's a presentation and, you know, I mean, I like getting stuff done. you know, And so if there's a presentation and we already understand that this is only a part of the funding and it sounds like there's pieces we can and pieces we can't,
Yeah.
that just kind of seems more like accounting.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, and you guys have some work ahead of you, so if we can make some motion on this one, leaves less work for later on.
Okay. Michael, how would you like to go?
I'm pretty flexible, Russ. I am. I'll leave it up to other folks on the committee. I'll just, follow your lead.
Mary Ann?
I
You
think the
feel-
presentation
you feel
would be
comfortable with
worthy. I'm just trying to calculate what would fit into our parameters, maybe the pergola and the seat walk or the wall, but I think the presentation would be very helpful. Give me some
Okay.
guidance, so.
Okay. That'd be enough that if we voted it, we said to go ahead, so rather than tying it up any longer. It's all yours, Megan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let me just,
Megan, can I ask you one question?
yes.
Eric Eisenhower.
Hi.
I spent some time walking around down there today. Lovely sunny day, beautiful weather, and it was noisy as hell. When those school buses go roaring through and the dump trucks and all that. And I'm wondering whether have you talked to a consultant or someone other than Chris as to some sort of what you can plant in the way of noise suppression to give some isolation to the groups that will be sitting there, because it's noisy as hell. And I certainly would not want to spend a lot of time down there right now. So have you thought about that?
We've thought about the noise for sure. So we have experimented with this area for the past 2 years. We've had programs under the tent. So we are aware that there's some noise. We do have in our design that you'll see in a couple minutes, some trees and vegetation to help buffer some of the noise. But there is going to be some noise. So in comparison to the library, it's not going to be a super quiet space, but we don't really intend it to be used. I mean, people can sit and have their coffee and relax, but we're not intending it to be used as a quiet space. This is an active conversation, programs type of space. So We understand that there's going to be some noise, but we don't see it as a hindrance for the space. And we are trying to put up some buffer so that it's not loud as hell, as you said.
Yeah. Tell me, have you consulted with anybody who does professional design work with conifers and shrubs and various other different types of living materials as to how to get the most bang from your buck? Because not obviously not all conifers are created equal, and you can put your trees in. Some do a much better job than the others. And I would think, although you don't want it to be a quiet space, you want it to be a relatively isolated area where people can sit and I think be comfortable with the noise. So.
Sure, and I agree. And that's something that we'll start to investigate more down the line as we start to choose different plants and things like that. We haven't gotten to that space where we're choosing things. I do think Chris has quite a bit of experience with landscape architecture. I know he's worked on the Olympics and he's been down in the Bahamas at Atlantis. So he does have extensive knowledge of kind of all of these types of things as well, but we will absolutely, chat with other folks.
Megan, can I ask a question? It's Jenny Notchman. Do you have any elevations in your plans?
Yeah, you'll be able to see a little bit of the grading that'll take place.
Yeah, why don't we let Megan make her presentation? And because we may be asking her questions that she's going to answer, rather than having her spin her wheels for naught. Megan, if you want to let her roll,
Sure.
let her go.
Let's see. So this is a rendering of our project as it stands right now. It's just kind of a great way to give out the feeling of the space. So at the top here, I hope you can see my mouse. At the top here, we have a pergola with a patio space here that also will allow folks to go into the library that way. We have some seating, and what you don't see is our amphitheater stage that's here. We have some trees that are actually already in place and also some additional vegetation here. But again, it's, we're still in draft form, if you will. And as projects go along, they morph a little bit. So just want to outline the community need. So we had 1,100 community meetings in FY22 in our spaces. And if you think about it, this is still a time that people are, concerned about COVID. So this number is low. We have a very active space, and people are using our different rooms all the time to meet. To the degree that we know that we need some extra space, and so we've been utilizing our outdoor space under a tent, not only for COVID reasons, but also because our program attendance has grown so exponentially that we needed to spread out in the summer. Our outdoor programs, we try to run March through October. So there are times that we need to bundle up when we go out. And we get over 100 people to a lot of our summer programs. And our large meeting room holds about 60 people. So we do share a space with recreation. So we do have some indoor space that we can use for over 100 attendees, but it's truly wonderful to be able to have it outside. Another thing we noticed during COVID is we had cars parked in our parking lot of just people using our Wi-Fi when the library was closed. We were at the very beginning of the pandemic. And it really emphasized the need for Wi-Fi access and having additional places around town that people can connect. We're also in a need of a community space. So we'd really like to create this amphitheater, not only for the library, but for recreation, for elder affairs, for all the groups in town that are looking for spaces to be, which we proved through the need for our meeting spaces indoors. And this is our plan. Let me see if I can enlarge a little bit for you. So what you see here is we have a pergola. We did a little bit of a sun study because from October, we have different needs regarding the sun. So in March, April, May, probably into June, we need some coverage, or we need the sun because we need the warmth, which is why we've created a space with no shade at all. And then in the middle of summer, we desperately need the shade for it to be comfortable to be outside. And so we decided that the pergola would be a great addition, along with hopefully adding some shade trees as well. We've had an age-old problem of having all of our extra parking down here shared with recreation, with not a really great entrance to the library. It's actually quite a walk to go all the way around to one of our entrances. So we're adding this additional staircase, not only to quickly get to a program or outdoor space, but it also helps with getting into the library a little bit faster, making these parking spaces a little bit more appealing as well. Trying to think. I think that's it. We did talk about, as we just talked about too, is the trees over here is a little bit of a buffer. That might change as we explore, our vegetation needs, but that's what we have in place for now.
Will you be altering the exterior of the building any to add entrances, or are these existing entrances?
These are all existing entrances that we have now.
Okay. The only reason I was asking is that on the National Register of Historic Places?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah, you're lucky it's not, because that would be a real pain. But all right, that was the only question that I had. Thanks.
Oops. So that's all I have for you tonight is, talking about the need. So funding wise, I put in our application, we received $25,000 from the Music Circus. We have some state funds, state grant funds that we've put aside. And we have the Cohasset Library Trust is beginning a really comprehensive fundraising push. So along with the possible CPC money, we do have plans in place to fundraise and continue our financial journey.
When would you think you'd be starting the project?
We'd like to go to bid, right after town meeting, if all things work out. And we would like to have something in place for our summer programming, which I realize is a little aggressive, but our tent is falling apart. And so if we could have the patio done with the pergola for our summer programming, that would be ideal.
Okay. All right. No, I wasn't sure whether it was, 2 years down the road or 3 years, but you plan on getting on it right away.
Yes.
Does it have to, do you have to raise a certain amount of money in order to put the project under contract first?
So we need to fundraise around 200,000.
And would you be able to do that before spring?
We are very confident.
Okay.
Okay. Corey, any questions, comments?
I feel, well, I was made a little conflicted. My kids use all the outdoor programs. I mean, there's a COVID lifesaver, and I think I speak for hundreds of families for that. And this, having an outdoor space, I think is badly needed. It sounds, I think this is a great use of CPC funding for something that we're all going to use. And I love that so much of the funding is coming from both private. You guys have done a lot of work, and I think this is a great time for us to support it.
Okay. Mary Ann, any questions, concerns, whatever?
No, I'm just listening right now. Thank you.
Okay. Michael?
No, I'm listening as well. I think this is a great project.
Okay. Eric, other than being loud as hell, what do you have?
It's a very good project.
Okay. Tom?
I think it looks good.
Okay. Chris?
Just coming back to my earlier comment from a few weeks ago about thinking about kids in that space and the road so nearby. And what makes it loud as hell is all the cars roaring by. So just curious to see in a little more detail how tall those are going to be, because I worry about the rec department folks trying to keep all the kids where they should be and not out close to the cars. That's all.
Yeah, thanks. Tom? Or did I already ask you?
You already asked me.
Okay, you can go again if you want.
No, I'm good.
No? Your chance at glory, but Ginny, anything else there?
No, I think not. Thank you.
Okay. If somebody wants to make a motion,
I'm happy to. I would move that CPC recommend the $125,000 to go towards the library amphitheater project. Is that a good motion? My first on CPC, is that appropriate?
yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Well, and you know, actually too, while we're already there, we have more than they request because they don't spend, you know. Feel we need a buffer, or we're such a small part of it and the rest. Do you want to make it for 125, or do you want to go for a higher number or actual cost, whichever or less?
I would go for 125, and if, I think that was the ask, and we can, you know, you meet exactly what you're asked for, and try to go over.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I'm just trying to avoid, you know, getting to the end line and finding we're 10 grand short.
That's a good point.
And have to wait,
Yeah.
but, because, you know, like I say, we trust everybody else brings in receipts.
Right.
Russ? Russ? I just wonder whether it's worth seeing those numbers that Carolyn had before we vote this. And I think a question that Chris raised is an interesting one about public safety. Should there be a fence in there that separates the area from the street? And that could be camouflaged with hedges or something of that nature. But there are some details here that I think we could round out very quickly at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And have a chance to, now the committee may not feel that way at all, but at least I would be more comfortable looking at those numbers.
I would have to say, yeah, as well, for me, that in effect is what we just told Ronnie and everybody. And we're gonna be having another meeting, hopefully within the next couple of days. 3 weeks from tonight, I'm gonna go further over the hill, so I was gonna celebrate a birthday and not have a meeting. But if we do it in the next week or 2 weeks from now, we got plenty of time, and there's plenty of support for it. And I certainly don't want anybody voting on something they don't feel comfortable with. So if Tom raises that, Corey, what do you think? Wait for the numbers?
I guess I'm not, I think Chris's point is well taken about the safety. At the same time, I do think that this is more of a sit down space than a run around space. So I think that with some, I think that safety is, I'm confident enough in the library running programs that they'll be okay with that. And I'm not sure if there's anything substantive between now and next week that would make me uncomfortable moving forward. So I would keep my motion, but if it doesn't get seconded, I totally understand. I think the committee's got some good questions.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on whether or not to second the motion? Or does anyone want to second the motion?
Russ, excuse me, can I just add to Chris's concern? We have had a number of programs out there now where there's no hedge or anything, and it's actually worked out fine. Yeah, we have found ways of setting up hula hoops or beach towels, and the kids tend to be, you know, wrapped by the performer and not running. Which is not to say that all of them will be, but there will be, there is a hedge spec. We haven't picked our plant yet because there's some discussion about how much maintenance might be required for said hedge. And so we're trying to work through that, but there will be that to corral people within the things, but it's actually even worked with nothing.
But it is not inconceivable that kids would be down there in less than formal programs, running around and using that facility and not be constrained. So I just think you ought to think about that. But in any event, my only argument is we ought to see the numbers and exactly what we're talking about.
Okay. Anyone agree,
the-
disagree? Mary Ann?
The property is going to be altered anyway, because it looks like you're going to do some excavation on it. So it will be changed from what we see right now. So while the hula hoops may be okay right now, when you change the property, it will have a different look and feel. So a fence and some kind of protective shrubbery might be a good idea. I do like that idea. It should be seen on the plan. So when we should, the plan should be in the proper condition when we vote on it.
Okay.
Let me just show the plan one more time because there is a hedge line there and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same about that. So one more of these.
Megan, I just emailed you the
Okay.
night sheet.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I just wanted to share just to make sure that we all saw. There was a lot to take. I realized it wasn't for all of us. I've been staring at this plan for so long that I'm sure I forgot to show that detail. So we do have a hedge line here that goes all the way up through the parking lot as well. And we also have the sidewalk. And as Carolyn said, we had our tent out on the soccer field, but we did have story times out on a regular basis. And that was a concern at first. And we did look into fencing, but we thought just cones to signal space. Thought we'd give it a try and see what happened. And just the cones did stay within where we needed them to stay. But we do have these bushes as well. And maybe it's that we need to extend them up a little bit, but there is kind of a borderline that would be fairly difficult to get through.
Megan, is the thinking that there would be a raised planter built that those hedges would be in, or would the hedges be at grade level?
In the ground, yeah.
Okay, so there would be no planter, it would be the hedges are the barrier. It's not they would be planted in a barrier.
Correct.
And the hedges would be relatively dense.
The last thing we talked about was making it a U hedge, which would be dense.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking if it's just like.
Yeah.
That's
Russ,
fine.
I have a question. What about the question of liability? If this is a space that people can just come along and use with no supervision from any library staff, how do you foresee handling that? If somebody got hurt in that space, who's responsible?
I mean, it'd be same as a playground. All of our playgrounds are spaces where there's no staff and there's children running around. So it would be under the same liability.
Okay. Anyone else from the committee have any comments, questions? Does not appear anyone's going to second Corey's
Just
motion.
one more.
Nothing personal, buddy.
Megan, I know we addressed this one time before, but there are no plans by the library to build an actual structure. This is a long-term project. This is not going to be replaced in a couple of years or 5 years.
No, this will remain. The only structure that's going up, Marianne, is a small shed, and that's just for storage purposes.
No, there are no plans at this point to extend to add on to the library building itself.
Right.
The
It just seems like a
patio is
valley.
meant to be there in perpetuity.
And I do have the numbers electronically if the committee would like to take a look.
Corey took a picture of my piece of paper and sent it to Megan so she could share it.
Yeah, just so everyone can see what you and I
Yeah.
saw at the only phase.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to email it out to everybody as well.
Okay.
So,
What's the material of the pergola, please?
it's going to be wood. We have not picked out the materials for all of the areas just because we need to make some cost decisions on some of the materials we're going to use, but the pergola will absolutely be wood.
So that would have a life of 10 to 15 years at most, right?
There's a question about, with this breakdown, what things we can check off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
worth us kind of getting into. Another meeting, but yeah.
Okay. Anybody else on the committee have questions?
So the wall, $25,000. It's the
Terrace
terrace
wall.
wall and then
Yeah, this one, okay. It's a seat, it is right, so terrace wall, you know.
Well, yeah, if you look at some of those,
they're all sitting walls.
they're looking for like a third of the total.
Yeah,
And there's enough stuff in there that does qualify that's gonna eat up our chunk of the cash.
perfect, okay, that's what I was wondering, great, okay. Thank
That's
you.
how I look at it, anyway. Doesn't mean I'm right, but if anyone wants to make a motion, take a vote.
Motion
Do
was not
whatever.
seconded, it has died.
I'm sorry?
The motion wasn't seconded, my motion died, so.
Oh, you wanna try again?
It will be, someone else can, but it will be revived another day, I'm sure.
Okay,
Megan, can you send us copies of those numbers?
Sure, I'll send them over. Corey, can I send it to you? And
Tom, if you don't get them tonight, or if you get them tonight, do you want to vote it all, a final vote at a later date, I think, is where we're rapidly approaching, and that's fine.
Well, my preference
Because
would be
I
to
can send it out.
wrap it into that meeting that we're gonna have on the playground.
All right, Megan, send that to me and I can distribute it. I've got a mailing list set up for CPC.
oh, okay, great. Okay.
Okay, all right, so we'll continue this to next meeting. Okay, all right. So,
Thank you.
well, yeah, hate to put you off again, Megan, but I think you can pretty well rest assured what the outcome's going to be. So, and we'll do it quick. And you won't have to make your presentation again if you don't want to, but if you do, we'll let you go. How's that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. As needed.
Any comments from the general public calling in? I see Diane Kennedy. Diane?
The peanut gallery.
No, she bailed on us. Okay, there are no questions from the committee? All right, well, arrivederla for tonight, and we'll catch you in a week or two. Oh, Tom, you're gonna say?
No, I'm all set. I'm good.
Okay, all right. Time for public comments. Is there any public out there who'd like to comment? I don't think so. Committee members, thanks for coming. Where you have anything else?
I'm good, no, thank you.
All right, Michael.
I'm good, thanks, Rob.
Okay, Mary Ann.
No,
Anything
very
else?
good meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tom Reardon.
Nothing, good.
All right, Eric.
Everything's fine.
Okay.
You want a meeting to adjourn?
I'm sorry?
Do you want a meeting to adjourn?
Yeah,
I'll
if
second
none of the members have a comment, that would be a really nice one to make.
I'll second that.
And good luck if anybody plays the Powerball. Personally, I know that there are attacks on people that don't understand mathematics, but what the heck, you know? You do. To bite to, I have to admit. When it gets to this, I'll throw $2 away. What the hell?
Next week.
Okay.
Okay, motion to adjourn is on the table.
We had it already.
Second.
Okay. Do you have to roll call or we're just gonna?
Everyone say aye.
Everybody.
Aye.
All right, thank you very.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.